digital connection where conversations come to life. Prompt Chat Live, the perfect intersection where words make pictures, erasing all the strife. Prompt Chat Live, let's dance with words tonight. With every prompt that's sent, imagery takes flight. Prompt Chat Live, where pictures find their song in the rhythms of typing all night long.
I hope you will enjoy our community host, Dee, who has been a guide here at Midjourney for quite some time, and is always making tutorials and teaching freelance outside of these more formal events on our server all the time. So it's really a gift to have her time here today to show us a little bit about what she's discovered with Sref and all the different Sref versions. I am hoping that when I say Sref versions, you guys know exactly what I mean right away. But in case you don't, I'm going to paste them in. You can't make me laugh while I'm doing this pre-announcement thing. Okay, so in case you're not 100% sure about the Srefs, there are currently 4 amazing different ways that Midjourney will pull style from image to the canvas. So I'm just going to just remind people about Sref real quick so that Dee doesn't have to worry over much about bringing people back to the same page. The Sref, that style reference parameter, allows us to create a new image using the visual style of an existing image that we provide via a URL. And there are currently 4 different ways that Midjourney will pull style from this image to your canvas. If you want to explore outside the default, SV4 is the current default. You can use this Sref with a --SV, where the SV value is 1, 2, 3, or 4. And you can see the examples in the chat there of what that looks like. And we do have, if you're not sure about style reference and you've never used it before, you'll pick it up by watching what Dee does today, and you can also use the FAQ. We'll step you through it. So one of the big questions about the Sref versions is, what do they do? What do I use SV1 to do? What do I use SV3 to do? Why do I have these 4? And what can I use them to? What'll they do to my image? And so my default answer is you can't know what it'll do, because the chemistry between whatever's in your URL and the prompt and the version is unknowable. It's an unknowable, so it's all you can do is explore and discover. But Dee has a few some better information, some deeper information, some ways to explore, some ways to discover through these versions, and some toys to play with. So after oh, I'm pausing. No, Himbo, you can't really predict what SV does. But let me pass the microphone over to Dee now, and she can explain what she will show us today. Okay. Dee, it's all you.
Alrighty. Well, the first thing I'm going to do is set up the same thing in both the website and Discord, because I know not everyone here might have access to the website. For those who don't know, if you have... Oh, I'm on alpha. Okay, if you've got over 1,000 images, you're able to generate images on the website. But if you're still fairly new and you don't have 1,000, then you have to use the Discord. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to do it both ways so everybody knows what's going on. So first, I'll show you what it looks like in Discord. So if you're going to use, oh, not Sref, Sref, there we go. Okay, so I've got an image let me just open it up here. And I'm going to use it as, okay. So I have this crazy image here, and I'm going to use it as a style reference. Don't ask me why. I'm in a weird mood. It looks like an interesting picture. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix that image by getting the image URL, right? So you can right click on an image and you can copy the image address. And you come back to your Discord. So you have your basic prompt, then you use the --sref, and then you paste in the prompt for the image that you want to use. And why does that look so strange? Miro.medium.com. I guess that is the right. Okay. Sorry that the URL looked a little strange to me. Okay. So if I run this, oh, I didn't turn turbo on. Let me just, yeah. You're going to see me use turbo, and that's just so that you don't all have to wait, a few minutes while the things render for me. Turbo mode is available to all levels of membership, but be aware that it will go through your fast time super fast. So just don't turn it on unless you're ready for that, and make sure to turn it back off afterwards, or you'll run out of fast time. I've seen it happen. It's not pretty. Okay, so here we have a painting of a beautiful young woman posing for a portrait. This is kind of one of my go-to prompts because I know generally what a pretty girl is going to look like from Midjourney, and that, like, by default, we get something that looks like this, right? Just a pretty girl, no special anything, just a painting of a pretty girl. So when we've added that sref that looks like this with all the crazy characters, we get a pretty girl who has got all the styling of that crazy picture that I chose. Okay. So it's one way that you can really change the look of something, even just a completely simple prompt. You can make it just like pop with some other style. That's the beauty of sref. It is my favorite innovation in Midjourney since the beginning. I love it. I can't get enough. So what this looks like, okay, so this, when you run it, if you don't tell it an image, or I'm sorry, a version number, it just uses 4. It's 4, right? Uh,
Yeah,
Clarinet?
it
Yeah, it's
defaults
4.
to
Okay.
4. Yep.
I don't know, brain part there. Okay, so it defaults to 4. But let's say you're curious, so what are these other versions? There's actually a way that you can run that really quickly. Now, ignoring that turbo that I put in there, we don't need that now. Come on, cooperate. Okay, so there's actually a little trick that you can do, and you can do this even if you've got the basic account. You can do a permutation, which if you haven't seen it, I'll show it to you. Okay, so we're going to do our imagine. We're going to paste our prompt in just like we had it up here. But what we're going to do is we're going to add curly brackets. So we're going to go to 2 dashes and SV and a space. And we can do 1, comma 2, comma 3, comma 4. Okay. And what that's going to do is this is going to run a permutation. It's going to run this prompt 4 times, and it's going to put the version number at the end for each one. So it'll always ask you if you want to do 4. If you've got the basic account, you can only do 4. So this works out. So it's like Clarinet said earlier, we can't really tell you what each style is going to give you because every prompt it's going to be different. It's just kind of, you know, you're going to get what you get, and you may like it and you may not. If you get something and it's not quite right, you might try one of the other versions just to see if it's different. Okay, so I will pull these out. That's the first one. And remember, the permutations don't always come out in the right order. So if you want to put them up for comparison, you got to make sure that you grab them in the right order. So in this one, we've got 3 coming after 4. So we'll just grab it. And then we'll grab 4.
When you say grab it, what exactly are you doing?
Okay, what I just did is I just clicked it to open it and then clicked it open in browser. And that way it's nice and big and I can show you each one. So here we have, this is version 1. Now let's look at, let me open the, let's see, did I have the original one? This was 3. Okay, so this was the original one. Let me zoom out, put it at the beginning because that makes more sense. Okay, so here was version 4, which, oh, actually we're going to have 2 version 4s. So these are both version 4. So you got a little bit of difference, but the basic style is, you know, the same for them. Okay, so let's look at version 1. Version 1 is maybe a little bit simpler on this one. Like I said, on every prompt that I tried, it's completely different, the things that you get with the different versions. So you can kind of just look at them and see which one you like best.
Collect asked, would it not be beneficial to run these seed locked to better see the differences? And DI said that seeds are sometimes randomized even inside a permutation. But you could get lucky and be able to seed lock it. What is your thought about seed
I
locking
have
for
actually
comparisons?
done that, and it can be useful, but I've already introduced quite a few concepts here, and I was kind of trying to not pile on yet one more because I find that people get unrealistic expectations of what a seed can do. And so I
Quickly
didn't want to
agree.
spend a lot of time explaining that seeds are not magic and they do change. And so, you know, it's good for like an academic test, but you can't bank on it going forward. It's not going to keep producing the same thing for you week after week or, you know, even hour after hour. So it's limited of how useful it is. Okay, so I showed the 1. This is 2. Notice it's kind of more saturated colors, a little darker maybe. Then we have version 3, which also has a lot of color coming in here. And then the version 4, the color is much more subdued. Now you may find that the color variations change depending on the prompt and what you've got in it. But that's kind of it. With the version, you know, if you're finding all of the different variables and parameters and dashes very confusing, don't even worry about it. Just let it be the default. Version 4, totally adequate, right? So really, you know, I would only worry about the version number if you're just curious and you like to tinker. Otherwise, you can completely forget about it and you're perfectly fine, and your permutations are going to be, or your SREFs are going to be just fine, right? So this the dash dash SV is not something that you need to stress about. You can just let it go. Just know it's there, and you can
You're
play with
saying
it.
it's more like a tool for aesthetic exploration and not a tool for controlling your canvas.
Well, because since we can't really say, well, this one does this and this one does that with, you know, consistency, I think it is, you know, if you've got something you really like, you know, one of the things I'm a big proponent of is if you find prompts you like that are working for you, find other ways to use them. Change a word, add a variable, add an SREF, use it as an SREF for something else, and just not don't be afraid to play with the stuff. And I think Midjourney is a lot more fun when you don't get too hung up on, you know, the 100 different parameters that you can have for any given thing. So that's
Got
why,
it.
especially if you're new, just let it wash over you. Use it or don't use it. It's not gonna be the end all and, you know, be all of your Midjourney existence. So, any questions about the version numbers, or why you would want to play with them?
Any questions about the SREF versions? Collect asked, do you have a favorite SV? Do you have a favorite version of?
Most of the time, I just go with 4. You know, occasionally I've run the others just to see if it did anything, but I find 4 to be really perfectly adequate to the cause. You know, I there's other things I can do to it that give me more oomph
Yeah,
than
that's my favorite too.
the yeah. I was glad they
Hey,
made that one the default. And I was confused last week because I said 3, but I realized afterwards that I was getting myself confused because it actually was 4. So
well, I can
yeah.
I can add a little bit more to your SV story by
Okay.
saying that Midjourney Labs is a small experimental laboratory, right? A small tiny team releases experimental things, and the style variation, uh, the first edition of style reference, was quite experimental. And they tried it, and they kind of realized it was released as an alpha or beta, if you will. And then this tiny team of developers said, we could probably do a little bit better. They made another version, and then they made another version, and then they made another version. And really, they made two. They made the initial version and an improvement, and then they made it made a new implementation of it and tried that, and then they had an improvement of that. And that's what 1 and 2 are. 1 and 2 are the alpha release of the style reference, and its improvement. So they could have called it style reference alpha A and style reference alpha B. And then they could have called 3 and 4 style reference beta A and style reference beta B, right? So that's the history behind it. So when you look at 1, you're looking at the initial release. When you're looking at 2, you're looking at an improvement over the initial release. When you're looking at 3, you're looking at the first attempt at a second release. And when you're looking at 4, you're looking at the final attempt at that second release. So the first 2 and the second 2 are different implementations, and the second of each 2 and 4 are the more advanced, or the improvements of the prior. So that's the historical explanation of those 4 versions. And the answer is really they all just do different things, and people who got really used to the initial release of style reference really liked how that early release worked, and they really liked the way the original release worked. So we left them all in there, so you can explore that original release of the style reference command, or you can explore the contemporary release of the style reference command, which is number 4.
Which gives very good. I mean, I'm perfectly happy with the version 4. I don't feel a huge need to fight with the others, but I really wanted to just be able to show that to you and to show you how to do that permutation. Let me just
Oh yeah, put that in chat. That's awesome.
so there is the actual permutation I used, and so if you just want to use it, you just grab the dash dash SV part, and then it will put all 4 of them for you, and then you can do your own exploring to see what's what.
Excellent. Do we have any other questions about style reference and its 4 versions? Okay, Collect says version 3 is 1 with the implementation upgrade, and 4 is 2 with the implementation upgrade. 1 and 2 are different original approaches. No, 1 and 2 is the initial implementation, and 3 and 4 is the second next implementation. So one it could be 1A and 1 alpha and 1 beta, and then 2 alpha and 2 beta. I mean, they could have named it all kinds of things, and we actually just said, look, just name them 1, 2, 3, 4. No one's ever going to be interested in the history except in Promptcraft Live, where we all nerd. Where we all nerd about it and get the cool secret background history of where these things come from. And so you're in this event, so you get to hear about um, the secret history. There you go. That's right. No,
Couldn't
that's
have
what I
left
said
that.
too, man.
Yeah. Okay. So I think we've beaten that one kind of to a pulp. So if you're not in here to get your geek on, just know you don't have to use an image version at all, and one will be chosen for you, and it will be this one, and it will be nice, and you don't have to sweat it. So there's another parameter that you can add to an SREF, and that is a style weight. Okay, and what the style weight does, it says how much of this style is going to be applied to your prompt. Because maybe you're looking at this and you're like, well, I really kind of like that. Let's see, wait, let's look at the version 4 one. Okay, this is a version 4 one. You might say, well, I really like that, but maybe it's a little too strong. Maybe I just want to tone that down a little bit. So we can basically take this one, and since I used the V4, I'll just put that in the prompt so that we have it. Okay. And then we can say like image weight, or sorry, style weight of, it's 100 by default. So if you don't add anything, it will just be 100. And so this, even though it doesn't have it in the prompt, is just style weight 100. Okay, and you can go anywhere from like 1 to 1,000. 1 probably isn't going to have very much effect. So you're gonna want to take it down. Like, I think technically you can put it at 0, but I don't really see what the point of that would be. So I don't recommend it. So let's just give it a style weight of, let's say 50. Let's say we want half as much style influence on this picture as we have now. And then while we're waiting for that one, let's do one with, let's do one with 25. And we'll do one with maybe just 10. Okay, so let me pull this open again. We've got, okay, this is our version 4. So we'll just, open that in its own tab. And then we'll come down here and we'll grab the 51 and open it in a tab. And we'll look at them. So this is at 100% of that, of the style reference that we put in there. This one's at 50. So you may find as you go down that the characters start looking maybe a little bit more normal. This is still not that normal. So different images are going to have different impacts. It really kind of depends on what it is and how it compares to what you're doing. The AI is looking at this and it's seeing, a lot of pattern in the background. So it's putting a lot of background stuff, and it's still putting a lot of kind of decoration on our person. So if we come in here and we look down to 25, okay, now here we're seeing a big difference. Okay, let me here. Now see, we're getting a lot more natural looking person, right? She's not as, she's not scrolled with all of the little patterns. Like if we look at one here, okay, she's got all these little patterns all over her because that's coming off the style reference. And if we've got this lesser amount, you see we got freckles, but we don't have, we may have some grunge because it can't help itself, but we don't have all of that little styling so much. This one, she's got a little bit, but it's not very dark. It's kind of subtle. Okay. And if we come back here and we look at like 10, we see she's much more natural looking. We still see some scribbles and maybe, some interesting shading going on, but she's much more natural looking. And then we can come in here to, did I do a 5? Don't think I did a 5. Let me do a 5 real quick. Because that, oh, whoa, that's not the prompt we want. That's going to do something completely different. Okay. Sometimes the up arrow works and sometimes it's just garbage. Never figured out how to tell when it's going to do what until I actually hit it. Now, at 5, I said down to 0 probably doesn't make a lot of sense, but one of the little tricks I found with this is that, like, the style weight of 5 is a great way to get a background on it. Like, it tries to pull from the background, but it doesn't really change the character very much. And if you use this with a character reference, you will find that you also get interesting results. And maybe I'll go over that later, but I don't want to get myself sidetracked on character references. But what you'll find is that the lower numbers, you get more of the background, and only some will actually affect the subject. It kind of varies depending on what you're doing. My prompt here is just dead simple. If you've got a prompt with a lot more, where you're specifying colors and this is in front of that or this is in the background, you're going to get kind of wildly different results. So it's just going to have to be, with all things Midjourney, when you're creating something, I always suggest starting out with the most simple prompt that you think will get you what you're going for, and then layer the stuff on. Right? So you see what, the painting of the beautiful woman looks like, and then maybe you add an SREF. And then maybe you, you know, you look at it then and figure out, okay, is it, is the SREF too strong? Do I need to reduce it? If not, that's great. You can go the other way because you can go all the way up to 1,000. So let me do one of those. Now, when we go to 1,000, we turn her, she is no longer this human character. She is now a cartoon. Hello, here she is. So this can be a fun way to create characters, especially if you use a character reference to try to keep her face, as similar as possible. But you can get some really fun results uh, with this. And you see it just cranked this all the way up. So if you look at our, let's see, where did my original? Here's my original. Okay, so here was my original SREF that we're using. And then, oops, hello. Did I not? Oh, I didn't blow it up. There we go. Okay. So here, oh, I had. Okay. Here's our original. And here's what we get at 1,000, where it just says, take that style reference and just rub it all over it really good. This part can be a lot of fun. So you've got everything from, 1 to 1,000 to play with. And each time you do this, you're going to get something different. So even just re-rolling this a few times, oops, can give you fun things. That's something else. If you're new, don't be afraid to hit that re-roll button, because that re-roll button is your friend. Because if it's sort of in the ballpark of what you like and you re-roll it, you may well find that you get, even closer to what you might be trying to get. If
You're just
cartoons
saying,
aren't,
give it another
yeah,
chance.
yeah,
Give it a
yeah,
couple of
just,
chances. Yeah.
throw another nickel in the machine and crank that arm,
Yeah.
we gotta get our little casino thing going on here. Okay, so this is where relax time can be your friend, because you can just run them you know. Um, Something else you can do is with the srefs, you don't have to stop at just one. You can add more than one sref onto an image and they'll kind of blend together. Or you can take an image you really like let's say, uh, yeah, this one's kind of cute. All right, so let's take this one. Okay, so I ungridded it by hitting the U. Some people call that upscale, but it's not actually upscaling it. It's still the same size, it's just by itself. So we've been calling that ungrid. So here you have your picture. Let me just grab another one. Let's see here. Let me get something silly. Oh, we can take this image and we can do, let's do, let's do a strong variation. Okay. Now, something to know is I have remix turned on. If you look at your settings, you can find out if you have remix on. This is something that's useful to know, that remix is the one here with the dice. If you have remix turned on, when you do a variation, it's going to pop up a box so that you can actually change your prompt. So I can add another sref in there. All you have to do is make a space before it and make sure there's a space after it so that it's not touching anything. You never want your dash dashes touching anything. You always want a space in between. So I'm going to put that in. I'm going to take out the style weight for the moment, just so we can see what happens when we combine these. Yeah, 1 to 1,000. You can technically put 0, but I don't see what the point would be. It'll let you. I just don't know what you get. Yeah. So this is the picture that I used as the second sref because it's strange and wonderful. So
Mask Poet
what?
asks, hold on, I think I missed that last part. Is there a quick method to duplicate your previous prompt?
Well, what I did here is I actually did a strong variation, and I have my remix turned on. So when you do this, it's going to come up, and when it does the remix, it's going to use the influence from this picture back here, right? So by adding the second sref, I'm kind of like dishing in a little bit more spice into the mix, right? I could actually change this, and I could say, mm, what would happen if I made it a man? I never tried that. Let's just try it on the run and see what happens. We'll put the second sref in and take out the style weight just because. Let's see what we get. This is one of the things I'm saying. Don't be afraid to just change a word out, see what happens. Sometimes you find the most interesting things, a prompt that'll work for a cat could work for a squirrel or a dog or a zebra, maybe. You don't know unless you try it. It didn't like that command. Okay, let's go back here. Try that again. All right. Before I actually put the other one in, let me just do it without adding the next sref. Okay. Now, what was the question about running the same prompt again?
The question is, I think I missed that last part. Is there a quick method to duplicate your previous
Okay.
prompt? And also,
This
apologies, where is a remix?
Okay, so remix is under the setting. Okay, so if you're in Discord, you can type /settings. Now you don't see this on the website. I'll explain that in a minute. But if you type /settings, then you see this. And this is where you can come, you can change the model you're doing. So like if you wanted to play with version 3 to see what it gives, you could set that here, and then it automatically would run whichever model you have set there. By default, it's version 6. Remix is here. If it's off and I do like a very subtle, it just runs it. right? It doesn't give me any pop-up. If I have the remix turned on and I do very subtle, then I get this box, and then I can change it. Young. I'm gonna change it to a squirrel, just so you can see that what it's doing. I didn't add any other references or anything there. Okay, so this was the one. Okay, this was when I just ran it as a subtle variation, and I didn't change anything, right? So it started out this one. Just open that so we can see them side by side. Okay, and so I just did a subtle variation, told it just, vary it, give me what you want, but vary this picture, not like the whole prompt over again. And so then we get this one. So we went, oh, that's not the right one. Let's go this one, right? So when we just did a subtle variation and we let Midjourney do what it wanted to without changing anything or having the remix, we get similar, but not the same, right? So it basically has run that same prompt again, but it's run that same prompt from this picture.
That
So what
picture
we
is the
get when
parent
we,
image.
thank you. Yeah.
So
Now,
one of the questions, oh,
go ahead.
let me know when you're done with the segment and I'll add the next question.
Okay. From
In
foreclosure shifted. Okay. It doesn't like me playing around with the
No, it's in status. There's apparently some sort of problem right now.
okay. So just know that that is an option to you that you can get in there and tinker when the server's not having its own little issues. Okay.
So one of the questions was, when you start adding more srefs in your remix, is the effect that it's blending styles? Each of the URLs is blended together?
As far as I can tell, it is blending. It's not always blending the same way. I think that some styles may actually be stronger than others. Like if you put in a light pastel, one of them's a light pastel and one of them's a really vivid, bold lined SREF. I think you will find that the pastel one kind of gets overridden, right? So it's kind of like if you're playing with paints and you mix something with black, you're gonna get it's gonna go to the much darker part of the palette than if you mix, a light yellow and a light green, right? It's the same sort of thing when you're mixing them together.
Oh, somebody who had come in a little late wasn't sure what SV was what stood
Okay.
for. So I was
Okay.
just putting the definition back in from that we went over at the beginning of the event.
Okay. So you can see here how it looks when you've got two. It actually did do one of them where it started out with our girl from earlier and added a second SREF. So you notice it added much more color. Let's see, this was the rid of that one. Get rid of a few things. Here we go. Okay, so I basically added this one and that one, right? Which, you may not do if you're not just kind of randomly pulling things out to show them off. But if you look at the two, you can kind of see we have muted but saturated colors here. And here we have just really loud and really well-defined shapes and some loud colors, some, stripes and whatnot. And so here you see that she goes from, let me get rid of this in the middle. She goes from kind of muted colors and strong lines to like brighter colors and still the strong lines because both of them have, strong lines and some, some curly stuff. There might be a little bit more jaggedness in here because this one, it's got a lot of, like it's got the curlies, but it also has some sharp jags, different shapes, the points of the ears and, the straight parts. when you use a style, it doesn't copy. It's not like an image reference. Like an image reference would put an old lady in our picture generally, right? Because it would try to add whatever's in the picture. The style reference just kind of goes and grabs, it'll grab some of the colors. Like it'll probably grab onto some of these gradiated colors here. Not too much, but it does add the brighter colors than we saw with just the default one, right? So some of them, really, if you want to mix things, you just have to give it a try and see what happens. And something else you can do is you can come along and you can say, okay, I really like this. Let's say I really like that one. Okay, so I like those colors. I like the way it's got the shapes. And you could come in here and say, come in, you grab the image address so we can use it. And then let's say we want two puppies playing in a basket and front fireplace. Old woman sits in a rocking chair.
Somebody's asking if you have multiple if you have sref URL1, URL2, URL3, and you apply a style weight, it applies to all of them equally, right?
Yes, because, well, let's see here. It is
You can't,
possible,
yeah.
only in Discord, to actually weight. Let's see, is that only image reference or is that SH? No, it's only image. If you are using image references in your prompt, and this only works on the Discord, you can actually, okay, so if we take this off, we're not using it as an sref. If we're using a couple of images as image references, it is possible that you can do a weight on them. So we could have image one. Let me grab another image here. Okay, so sometimes when it's Discord, the web's still working, but it looks like we're having a general issue. So we may just have to have the rest be a philosophical discussion if it's not going to let us generate things. But is everybody familiar what a weighted multi-prompt is? Like, would anybody like me to explain that since I can't seem to generate anything? Okay, so let us find if you don't all have this website linked as a bookmark right in your browser, you should do that now. And then we can come in here. I'm going to open up the page so that you can find it again. See, where are they hiding There's the prompt I was playing with that it won't let me run. And if you look, I've got a weight on the first image of 4 and a weight on the second image of 1 and then a weight on the, okay, so you see here, this image has got a weight, oops, this should be the girl image. Okay, so this is the first image of the girl, right? This is the second image, which I've given just a small weight. So what I would suspect this would do if it would render for us was it would probably add some of these pastel-y colors, maybe some bright blue in here. I have no idea what that would do. Part of why I do it this way is that it's a really good idea to, like, if you're just playing with it and trying to figure out what's what, pick a couple of things that are really far apart so you can see the influences, right? So if they're really different, then you can see if this comes out and suddenly she's got, electric blue eyebrows or something, you can see the result that the image had on what you're doing, right? If you pick two images that are very similar and you mix them together, you're probably going to get closer to that. But if you're trying to learn how the influences work, very different is a good place to start.
Was that answering Brennan's question?
That was to answer about the weights on the images.
Okay, so Brennan's question was, are there benefits to having multiple style references when I'm not trying to blend distinct styles? Like if I add two SREFs with very similar styles, will it more strongly reinforce parts of the styles that the SREFs have in common? Or is it better to just pick
Yes.
one? And yeah, that's what I said too. I said whatever they have in common will appear reinforced in the output, but what you think they have in common and what Midjourney pulls out might not match.
Yeah. Well, let's say that you like this one, but the line work is too dark, right? If you have another similar image with lighter line work where it's not so dark and so bold, and you put the two together, you probably end up with line work somewhere in the middle. Or if you've got one that's really solid, like maybe you don't like all this, maybe this feels a little too dirty. You might try one where the whole background is like the lighter color here and a clean background. And you might find that when you blend them together, the output would have a little bit less darkness around the edges, for example.
So now there's people trying to figure out how weights work. So I'll go ahead and paste the math in here for math nerds. Um, here's the math. For how weights work.
And there is the link up above that will bring you to this page here and show you some good examples of what you get. It's important to know with these weights, if you don't put a weight, or even if you just put like the two colons without anything behind them, the weight is just one, right? The default weight of all your prompts is just one, unless you specifically tell it otherwise, right? And so the example here is good because like this shows you if you've got spaceship, you get, a ship in space. And if you add the colons, it actually takes each of these separate. It still gives them the same value. They're both a value of 1 because you haven't specified anything. So now you see a lot of space and you see a ship, but you see like a regular ship, not a spaceship, right? Because ship is its own thing. So it's taking this and then it's taking that.
I need to add a caveat that this is the version 5 version of multi-prompts. The version 6 multi-prompt implementation is brand new and doesn't quite work the way the documentation describes.
Yes, as well. But it still takes them as two, this part still works, does it not?
No,
I mean, in my experience, this is still working. But
not exactly. Not the
no.
way, perhaps for new users, they won't notice that it doesn't work the way we think. But older users who learned about weights in version 5 would tell you that it doesn't work that way anymore. New users who are only encountering multi-prompting from V6 forward might not appreciate that it's broken.
The important thing is to know that this exists and to be able to experiment with it. The weights really are more effective in the older version, but if you're just trying to get two pictures and you want one picture to have twice as much influence as the other, or as Clarinet's got the math there, if you want it to be, you know, 2/3 more powerful, then you'd put the first image as 1, the second image as 2, and then the second image is, twice as powerful as the first. So this would be how you would get a regular image prompt to, or image reference to outweigh the other one. But this doesn't work with the style references because the style references have to be behind the dash dash SW or the SREF, sorry. And you can't put things with dash dashes in the middle. So it gets messy and you can't do that. But you can mix them together. And you can take nope, doesn't want to do it. Okay, so let's let's go off to, give me just a moment here to switch gears. I hadn't quite planned for us to have this issue. Let me get rid of a couple of things here. Okay, so let me show you some stuff you can do with the SREFs. I was going to try to avoid using these, but since it will not cooperate, let's just do it. Give me a second here. Okay, so start with this one. Okay, so one of the first tests I did for my article here is I took, in the right column, this is what I used for an SREF. And I used it with that same basic prompt of, what was it? A painting of a beautiful young woman posing for a portrait, which by default, she looks something like this, right? That's Midjourney's idea of, beautiful girl posing for a portrait. So I took that same prompt and I applied all of the right column things to it to see what I get. There. Okay, that gives us maximum amount of. So this was the one I showed you earlier, right? So we saw that before we get the pretty girl. But you can get her with a lot of different details, a lot of different styles. Like this one, it did fun things with her hair. This one we've got, I don't know, we've got a llama riding a llama. Don't ask me. I don't know. It just happened. But it does make for really pretty pictures of girls. And you get some interesting results. I mean, this is one way you can blend things together. I mean, you've got the option of taking two pictures and just blending them, like using the blend mode, or just if you're on the website, the way that you would do it is, like if you wanted to say, just for pretend here, we're gonna mix these two together, right? You could, to blend these, you can just drag them up here, and you can see from here that they're an image reference. So you just drag a couple image references up and you can hit enter. And if the system wants to work, then it will basically combine those two together and try to create an image from it. Oh, look, it wants to work. Wow. Okay, but you notice when it did that, we lost our prompt craft live, right? These images, they've got the prompt craft in them, but now it's like completely different words. So for text, you're not going to want to do it that way. But one of the things I enjoy doing is, like, for kicks and giggles, going through my archive and grabbing, like, let's say I kind of like the way that girl looks. And then these were all of the SREFs I was playing around. But let's see. Yeah, we want to see her as a bird. All right. Let's just do something strange. Okay, so these are both image references. If it wants to work. Okay. If it will let us use this. No, that's going to make us have to have a thing. Okay. So here we've mixed the strange birds. Now we've got a second girl here because of the influence of the birds. But we've kind of got a blend of these. This is with the image. Like, this isn't even a style reference. We'll do a style reference of it too. Okay, so we've mixed them together and we've kind of gotten a bit from both of them, right? Our birds and our redhead. So if we do that same thing, now I didn't grab a prompt for that. Let's see here. Let me grab a prompt. Oh, it's just our beautiful girl. Good enough. Let's use that. All right, so now we're going to see what the difference is between using it as an image reference or as an SREF. So we're going to just do an SREF first, okay? So on the website, it's a lot easier to do the SREFs than it is on Discord, because all you have to do is come up here and there's these three little buttons. The left one is character, the middle one is style, and the right one is an image prompt or image reference. So this is the same thing as if we put --sref and this URL at the end of the prompt, but we don't have to because the website cleans all that up for us. Oh, my thingy's not been moving down. Have I missed any questions? It hadn't moved down for a while. Okay, so we get a significantly different picture when we've used the image as a style reference up here and when we've used it just as an image reference down here. You see that we kind of get the, we don't have the redhead in here. I hope I didn't confuse it by not using the redhead, but in here we had no words. So this is our beautiful woman posing for her portrait. And here we've actually just used the words and this style reference. So we can, let's see, what can we do from the website? We can crank this up. So we'll do a style weight of 1,000 and style weight of 50, if the system wants to let us. So we're going to see how much of this bird influence can we get on our pretty girl. Now see here, I've used only 50, and we get, it gives us, it picks up all the different colors and bits from here, but it's not really applying to our girl, because if it was, she'd have big googly eyes and glasses, right? This is one of the ways you can kind of see what the style is doing for you. And here, I've put the style at max. Now, she still doesn't have the big googly eyes that I might have expected. I think I was kind of expecting her eyes to be bigger, although something could be said for it. Those are some pretty big round eyes, right? That she didn't have on the regular images, you know. Here the eyes are somewhat big, but here they're much less because the style weight is less. And here they're much more. You know, they are a little bugged out. This one and this one are fairly bugged out. Hang on. Oh, I didn't do style random. Hang on. Okay, hang on. This was where the style random was the important part that we were supposed to start out with. Okay, so I showed you how to use Sref with an image. And let's say you don't have an image, or you just feel like playing roulette. You can do the new thing, which is Sref random. And I'm going to do a few of those. Okay, so what the Sref random does is it just randomly gives you a style. You see we've got there, it's the same exact prompt, and we get very different women. One thing you can do if you have the lowest account, you can do 4 of them, because you can basically do this and you can add a repeat. So like --R for repeat and the number 4, and it will automatically run for permutations. Now, if you're on Discord, it'll ask you if you want to run them, and then it will run them. If you do it here, there's no save. It goes in, it does 4, you're done. If you have the standard account, you can do, I think, 10. And if you have Pro or Mega, you could do like 40 at once if you want to. Now, if you do them as a permutation, you have to do them in fast time. So it's going to eat up your time. If you want to do them in relaxed time, you have to do them one by one in slow mode or relax mode. And you can't do the permutation. You just have to sit here and keep hitting rerun. Now, you can use, when you use the random, you don't get a number. So like you can't tell it, you know, this style. But you can totally take one of these images. Let's see which one we want. How about this one? You can completely take this image and use it as an Sref for something else.
Oh, so you're saying style random can be a style discovery tool.
Yes.
You can
Exactly
use
that.
style random to generate a bunch of interesting pictures that have one of which might have a style you want to reuse, and then you grab that image and use its URL, and then you can create endless things with that style.
So you can't point at it. It's not like the old tuner where you had a style ID that you used and then applied to other stuff. So you have to apply the image to another image. And so you can do all the same things I was showing you before as far as like, now the one thing I did note is you cannot use the different style versions with Sref random. It just uses 4. It doesn't let you do like the permutation thing. It'll give you an error if you try, or at least it did me. But once you've actually got this, you could totally do the permutation of all 4 versions, but only on the picture after it's been random, not before. If that makes sense. Now,
Wonderful World. Oh, Wonderful World of Stuff is
yeah.
setting you
I'm
up.
getting there. I'm getting there. I'm getting there. I'm getting there. Now, the
Why?
thing
Why? There might be a way of getting 4 random styles per quad.
Yes. As a matter of fact, let me just segue right into that. But first, I want to show when you go through this, when we're looking, these are all 4 of the quads, right? So in Discord, you'd be seeing them like this, right, in their quad, and on the web you see them, this way, but it's still a quad. You notice that the styles are the same or pretty similar. I mean, maybe it looks a little bit different. Maybe there's more red in one and more white in the other, but the basic style is the same, right? So this can feel a little bit redundant, right? I mean, you might like being able to see, the variations here. I mean, there is some variation. You've got a brunette, you've got a blonde, you've got short hair, you've got long hair. But if you're still not happy, if this feels too samey to you, there's tricks. And the tricks are to add some chaos and some weird. Now, in our testing, a chaos of 50 seemed to be a really good place to set it. Now, your mileage may vary. I would start with 50 and then maybe try variations on either side of chaos 50. If you're not familiar with what chaos does, you can do that as --C, or you can do --chaos. Either way, the same difference. What chaos does is it makes each image in a quad, it forces it to be different from the others, right? So when I added the chaos, this is a random, right? I used the same prompt for all the ones I'm going to show you. And I just changed it. So I was using the Sref random with it. I was using a 50 of chaos. Stylize won't change the quads from each other, but does tend to make them prettier because Midjourney is adding the default in-house aesthetic to it. You don't need the stylize. That's like strictly if you like it, use it. If you don't like it, don't use it. Now, the weird is fun. Now, you can do it just chaos without any weird. Like if you just want to make sure that they're further apart, you can just use chaos 50. In fact, as an example, I will come up here and I will take one of...
Himbo says, what is different when you use chaos?
Okay, so I'm going to use this and I'm going to add -- chaos 50. So no weird, no styles, just chaos. And we'll see what happens. Oh, that's a little racy. Sorry, folks. Let me try that again. Well, it's not indecent. We're just gonna cover her up a little bit. Okay, so you see we got very different prompts. So let me just... Boy, we are getting... Okay, maybe my prompt is not the best one. Okay, but you do see, we'll cover them up, that we get a lot of difference. Here we've got greens, here we've got reds and blacks. Let's try a different prompt. See here. Okay, so here we see we got very different puppies. Now let's just do the same one without the chaos. It's probably a... Good comparison. Okay. So without the chaos, you see that we have kind of standard puppies. I mean, they may look a little bit different. The line work may be slightly different. But here we have like completely different kinds of puppies. And here they're kind of, generic puppy. So this shows you the effect that chaos can have. Okay. So if we take this and we also add on some weird, then we will get very different puppies. So you see we get very different styles. The backgrounds are different. We've got, um, this one's got clouds. This one's just generic background. Try it with 1500 and 3000. Weird has a range of basically 0 to 3000. By default, weird is 0, right? You don't get weird unless you ask for it. And sometimes weird doesn't really even give you what seems weird. Like weird doesn't mean like it's suddenly going to give you um, completely bizarre things. It's just really going to take it out of the usual. I guess there's not really much that's weird about puppies. Other subjects will get you more oddball results. Like if you make a surreal painting and you add weird, it's going to get like super weird. No, there's no numbers for random currently. Don't know. Yeah, the tuner has a style ID. Unfortunately, it doesn't work quite as much as we had hoped, but that's different from the SREFs. But this is the very first version of SREF, so who knows what's going to come. And so if you are using SREF and you have suggestions, it's a good idea to put them in the feedback channels. Maybe give the developers some ideas. So anyway, that was the last of my bits. I'm kind of over time here. But when all else fails, if you really want to see some differences, you add some chaos. Depending on your prompt, if you really want to see some extra changes, you can add the weird. And then the stylized doesn't actually change the four from each other, but it does add a bit of mid-journey cuteness or prettiness or
Thank you, Dee.
aesthetic pleasingness.
This was an amazing whirlwind tour of SREF and all of its parts and pieces, and how to get the most out of different styles and how to explore and discover styles using the style reference parameter. I really appreciate your time. Are you going to stay and join us for the second half of the Q&A half?
Of course.
Oh, excellent. Okay, so first of all, can I get a round of applause for Dee for doing an amazing review of SREF? I am going to put a clap emoji in myself. Round of applause, round of applause. Lots of people saying that they loved it and it was just what they needed. And lots of people thanking you, Dee. We always appreciate it when you take the time to come and teach here at Promptcraft Live. This event was recorded. Where that recording will be made available is still up in the air. We will try to make sure those recordings land somewhere so that they can be watched again at some point in the near future. So the second half here, we have about 45 minutes left. And what we normally do at this time is all of our all of us will help all of us answer some questions. So some of you may have asked questions in the past hour and you didn't get them answered yet. And some of you still have questions that you want to ask. So what I'm going to do is do lightning round questions. Please type your question again, even if you've asked it before. And we will go through. I will read them out loud, and various people will answer. So if you want to answer, collect. I'm going to unmute you. Is there anyone else who wants to help answer that wants to be unmuted? Okay, very good. Thank you. So our first question is from Himbo, and let's see. The question is, what is a style? And Himbo, are you asking what is a style in Midjourney terms, like dash style? Because that's a thing. Okay, so chaos is a parameter. What the parameter does is make sure that each image in the grid, you get 4 expressions of your prompt in a grid, and chaos, the higher the chaos, the more different each of those items will be from each other. You get 4 thumbnails. If your chaos is high, then each thumbnail will be different from every other thumbnail. If your chaos is low, then the 4 images you get in the grid are going to be more similar to each other. That's all the chaos does. It makes sure that the images in the grid are quite different from each other. Dash style, on the other hand, is it does three things, I suppose, or 2/3 things. Dash style allows you to specify the set of rules Midjourney uses to interpret your prompt. We have three methods in version 5.2. We have 3 methods for that. You can use the default style, which is if you type nothing with dash style. You don't use dash style at all. If you don't use dash style at all, then you get the default house style. In other words, you get Midjourney's default rules for interpreting your prompt. If you use dash style raw, you get a skinnier, less complex set of rules for interpreting your prompt. And in version 5.2, we have something called a style tuner, which allows you to create random styles of your own using a little tool that gives you 128 different visual directions to choose from. And then when you use dash style and the style code you've created, you're using that set of rules for interpreting your prompt. So that's what dash style does. And if you're curious about what I just said and you want to read more, you can absolutely read more here at the FAQ about style. Does anyone, Dee or Kinky, does anyone want to add to my definition of chaos or style?
Yeah, I can give a quick okay, I showed the difference between the puppies. So if you're trying to see what chaos does, this is a perfect example. Here, without chaos, we see all 4 of the puppies looking very similar, right? When we add chaos, we get completely different kinds of puppies. Each picture is represented by different puppies, and that is the chaos happening. And then when you add the stylized to it, okay, so here I've got both chaos and stylized. You see that not only are they in a basket, but this one has someone holding the basket. You know, this one has much more stuff going on in the background. Here we're in a barn. This is Midjourney trying to, you know, add some shine to the thing and make it more interesting.
I was just typing that I use a little bit of chaos on almost every prompt that I write because I like getting some variance in the results like that.
Collect is saying that that the weird has no, it's irrelevant when you're using a random sref.
No, I'm saying the sref is irrelevant if you're using a high weird.
Why? You get 4 separate
Because
quads.
weird is a style mixer.
Right, so if you're after 4 different styles within a quad, within a random,
Yeah.
by using weirdness, it will create that.
Yes. Yes, exactly.
So-
and you don't need to use an sref for it or a sref random. It will create it anyways.
There's a point to
All-
that.
all 4 will
Let's
be
just
separate.
try that out.
All
Let's do
all
okay.
4 will be different.
So we want chaos, just chaos. That's it.
No, I'm saying
Chaos.
weird is high weird on its own is enough to create 4 different
4 separate styles without
yeah.
Okay. So let's do this without the random sref. I did leave chaos just because
and the weird.
we're talking about that. But there's no sref involved here.
Because I was experimenting with the sref, I never thought for a second, no, let's just not use the sref in this condition. It didn't click. So I think, do we need it?
The case could be made.
Yeah, I'm looking at it now.
This is interesting.
Just
we
what
get
weird is a style mixer essentially. It affects composition and coherence as chaos does as well, but it predominantly affects the style of the images.
Somebody should have told David
it
this.
overrides any other style input you may have in the text prompt, in an sref, from wherever.
I'm running it. I'm running them as we speak, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, 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 yeah. Mm. Yeah, I'm running them
No,
there's
now.
you're right. You're right.
Yeah.
Like, but I'm just saying, there's not much point in using an sref if you're using a high weird. It will override
actually.
its point. Yeah.
I'm testing that. It doesn't seem to be. I'm running it as we speak, and it's definitely different. Definitely.
Well,
Okay. If I just
look
put in
here.
the 3D, I'll run the 3 I'm running right now, and send them to you to show, because you can do them in turbo, can't you? And you'll see it's extraordinarily different.
Because I was testing them with different weirds, and I was getting, definitely getting different.
Yeah, but they're the 3 I've run. You see, oh, I've messed that one up. See, if we just stick to one topic, like a dope and dog I've done in these 3 sets. As I'm running them, I'm getting much more fluid random quads by using the sref random
Did you seed
than I
lock them
am
though?
without. Sorry?
Did you seed lock them? You should always seed lock if you're trying to figure out.
I'm actually writing it in here with a random, but I have actually seed locked it as I'm testing in here, yeah, in my own, yeah. But the seed lock, the Sref is creating a random seed, and I'm using that. I'm continuing to use that seed.
Because it seems like with the weird, we are not really getting hugely different stuff. It doesn't feel as different to me.
This is the top of yours.
I mean, they're still fairly realistic puppies.
Yeah. Are you in Star Raw or something?
See,
in raw
like
mode
here's one where I just did random and chaos. I didn't add any weird. And we get very
And they're
different images.
they're all the same style though. So if you want different styles, you should use weird.
No, they're a little different because we've
No,
got
they're the same.
Yeah.
Well,
But as I wrote in chat,
actually-
this is gonna be like this is totally subjective of what a person considers style.
Yeah. I'm not getting the same
The
results
thing.
as you do.
Clarinet Modem had a question. Can SREF random be used in select areas of very region?
Yeah, I don't see why not. You can select an area of very region and use SREF random. Very region has no idea that it's special. As far as very region's concerned, it's a variation. We think of it as something special because our experience as human users is, oh, we've got a cool lasso and we're selecting parts and we're doing this. But Midjourney's just doesn't have any idea. It thinks it's a variation, a normal just like the V buttons. It doesn't do anything different. So anything you can do with it when you click the V button and you have Remix on, right? And you click the V button, that's what Very Region is doing, except it's just doing it in a part of your image instead of to the whole canvas. So, I was just saying, we had a bit of a sort of a talk show moment there where we all started talking. And I was wondering if we wanted to maybe try to go to a second question.
Yeah.
We have about half an hour left.
Okay. Can I show one thing before we move on?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. So you're saying that these are all the same style, but they're really not. If you take each one of these with the base prompt without the sref, right? So here I used this one. These puppies look pretty different from those puppies, which look pretty different from these, and definitely look different from those. So while you may look at this
you're adding another
row
step.
with Cass. No, I'm taking the picture that was created by the sref random and using individual picture as a style reference on the same prompt. You see, we do actually get very different results.
But style reference is not a direct transfer of style, it's flawed. So you're adding another step to it. So I agree your results look a lot different. The new results look a lot different, but the original 4 panels are not that different. Maybe the first one is the standout one, but 2, 3, and 4 are the same style to me.
What's our next question, Karen?
Okay.
Okay. So, I'm scrolling up to try to find the next question. A demonstration of CW0 and how it locks the face versus higher versions of CW so that more of the body is transferred. Deed, do you think you can show
Let's
show a value of CW at like 80 versus a value of CW at 0? Oh yeah, that's a great one to pick. Yep.
Mm.
No body though, so I'm not sure how. Maybe pick the third one that has more of the outfit.
She's got this weird arm thing going on. It's kind of giving me the heebie-jeebies. Yeah, all right. Weird arm and all. Here we go. Okay, so we basically take this image, we drag it up here, and we click the character reference. Okay, so let's see. What do we want her doing?
Eating dinner. If you put eating dinner seriously with the whole character weight larger, it'll concentrate on that. But if you go down to the face, it changes it, doesn't it?
Actually, let's change it. Let's say woman in a green dress,
Uh,
and we will leave it with uh, the character weight is 100 by default. So, but I'm just going to put it in there so that when we're looking at the prompts, we can figure out which one is which. Okay, so this is the whole thing where she's full strength character. Chances are her dress is not going to change for us. Then I'll do it 60. Oops, let's not go all crazy there. Okay, so you see at 100, her dress does not change at all, right? Because it has fixed her to that dress. Now, how well she looks like this original? It varies. She's pretty close. Okay, so at 100, still red. At 60, still red. At 40, her skirt's green and her top on this one, but the other half is still red, right? So 40, we're still holding on to her full character as much as we can. At 20, her dress is mostly green, only just a little bit red. Maybe like here, she's got a throw that's red. Here, there's something behind her on the chair that's red. Here, she's got another Bizarro arm. Okay, so down at 10.
The trick, I'll just go ahead and say the trick
Sure.
for stopping, Cref will sometimes produce discoherency or incoherency. If you kick stylize way up to like 800, then that won't happen. You won't get Bizarro arms. Cref should almost always be accompanied by a high stylize. And that didn't make it to the formal documentation, but it's in all the FAQs. So hopefully people will pick up on that.
Down here at 10, we got, yeah. And at 0, she is all in green. But you basically had to crank it down to where it's just looking at her face in order to change very much.
So as a whole,
Yeah. I have discovered I was doing one character that had like super windblown hair, like her hair was like really straight out to the side. And I couldn't get that hair style to change. Even at 0, it just boldly wanted to hold on to that hair, and the heck with what I wanted.
did you use the blown out hair one as the main character reference though? And
Yes.
that was so
Yeah.
therefore it was locking into that as the character. That's the character with normal hair. Then that's how the Midjourney sees it, right? And then so you
Yeah.
turn it right down to the face, then the hair. The lower the number, then the face. The hair can be changed then because it's just concentrating on the face.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. One of the
So
things that I did
you're being
notice.
asked to go over
Yeah,
it
okay.
one more time.
One more time. Okay, so we'll start
Just do
at the default, right? So if you don't put anything, it's like character weight 100, right? So even if you don't see it, that just means it's full steam. And so if we take her as the character reference, wearing a red dress, right? And we tell it, put her in a green dress, it does nothing. It just gives us pretty pictures of her wearing her red dress. And you notice her red dress is not the same in each one. So that's not consistent, although it really likes the red. I brought it down to 60. Okay, still red. I brought it down to 40, and then we start seeing some green. It's not completely green, but it's a start. When we get down to 20, it's mostly green, with some red still in there. And it isn't, at 10, there's still some red going on, but it's mostly there. So 10 might be enough. if we re-rolled this a couple times, she probably wouldn't have this. It would probably give us more of the green. But at 0, we get her without any red. It's done away with the red.
So it still kept
Was
her
that what
face.
you needed to see? Yeah.
Yeah. But how I've been
That
explaining
was
to people,
Gallifrey's question, so I'm just checking to make sure that Galley
how I've been explaining to
got
people in
that.
teaching is that the CW 100 is 100%
I did
of
not.
the reference. Yeah, I find when it's the reference picture you're using, CW is using 100% of it. And then as you go lower with the numbers, it will use 50% of that reference material going towards the face and the hair and stuff, isn't it? It literally goes down in percentages, doesn't it, towards the face as you go lower.
Now, this number may not need to be quite so low for other things. Like if she wasn't in such a vivid outfit, it might be happier to change it. Like if it was going from dark blue or medium blue to navy, chances are between 40 and 60, you'd probably be getting the kinds of blues you're looking for. It probably wouldn't take going all the way down to 0. So it just depends on how much change you're actually trying to make. Did that answer the question?
No, Gallifrey said that she still didn't understand, but we can move on.
It wasn't with Sref. It was you did it with Sref earlier.
Did what with Sref?
You were showing the style versions with a very stylized. Excuse me, I'm losing my voice. With a very stylized version of "quote unquote" beautiful girl, and then you, as you changed that somehow, and I don't remember. That's what I don't remember how you changed it. You said you can make her more realistic, but keep the background.
Okay, that's basically just taking the style weights down.
Okay,
I started out with just plain old, this would be style weight of 100 with the SREF of the funny birds with the hair. Okay, so you see that it doesn't put the background like the window of that picture in there, but it kind of gives like the colors, like it pulls out the golds and the oranges and the grays and the blues, and that's what it's added to the background. Right? And it hasn't really changed her that much, maybe a little bit, but not hugely. Okay. Then I put it at style weight 1,000, which just says all out, thumb on the scale. I want more of this style. And you notice here we got like these big eyes. It did definitely change the eyes. It didn't make her bird-like, although it kind of did in that like her face is pulled way out here, like like a bird would do.
yeah.
Working? Sorry, I muted myself and then I wasn't sure if it came back.
No worries, no worries.
When I took the style weight down, like here, I took it to half, right? So 50 instead of the default of 100. It didn't change her that much, but it did kind of keep all of that, the noisy background in there. So this is ways you can play with style weight. When you have like a really low style weight, it just adds just a pinch, just a teeny little bit. I don't think I went below that, but you can do like 10% and then it might just add those colors, but not really change the line work or change the way she looks at all. Just adds a little pinch of spice.
Danke.
Okay, so we had a comment from Collect that if you use SREF random, there's a way of extracting the number behind the scenes so that you can use it again at will. Can you demonstrate that?
You can
I have no
just
idea.
refresh your page, and the ones you did during the class, they should have a number. And on Discord, it should give it to you right away now.
Where do we see it? In the prompt?
This is new. I didn't know this was out.
Yeah,
Ah.
this is super new.
Yeah.
Super new. Okay, guys. So I'm going to
Like
repeat
today
that.
new, right?
Today new.
You can use random numbers too. It's fun.
Okay, you guys. So did you catch that? You can use --sref random. The word random will be replaced by a code, a string of numbers. You can then, if you want, keep that string of numbers, copy and paste it into a notepad or something, and make a note to yourself what it does. And you can say this does deep watercolor, deep bold colors, watercolor with birds or something like that. And then you could actually create a library of these codes. And I suppose share the codes with others, just like we had with the style tuner, right? It's the same story as we had with the style tuner, where we could share codes with other people and get and use them again. It
Yes.
and is it transferable for real, or does it change with the prompt?
Well, let's check.
Let's
Here
check,
we
because
have
with the
practically
style
black and
tuner,
white. So let's do this and
with the style
say
tuner, if you got a code and used it with a different prompt, it was just random what you'd get back.
No,
With the
no,
sref, maybe it'll be consistent.
it's consistent.
I've,
Spoiler.
I've been on them to do that for like 4 months now.
And if you want to
However long it's
really
been.
emphasize the effect, you can use style weight 1000 on the code.
Is it always 10 numbers?
No, it can be one number also.
Okay.
I did
Thank
a
you.
series 1 through 20. Sref 10 is creates Lego worlds.
Nice. I was just saying 10 threes gives you a really stylized black and white sketch. Sorry about my voice.
So
Here,
this
let's
nearly
take
black
this.
and white thing, if you use it with a totally random, like robots in a forest, it'll still be that pale look.
No, it's not locking for
No,
me.
not
I'm
exactly.
getting different effects from the same number over and over again.
Yeah,
Did you
that's what
try the one I just put in there? Because
Yeah,
this
it's not
Damn,
lock-
it
damn,
seems
damn.
It's not locking it at all. Not at all.
It is locking them.
It,
Look,
it's not
on my-
locking the seed though, is it?
No, it's not locking the seed.
No,
It's not locking the styles though. I'm getting
but
4
I've
different styles
used
each time.
this. Really, I've used the same styles over and over and over again.
Are
Numbers.
you using weird to override style?
Let's make
I
sure
took it
that
out.
I'm not putting any weird on it.
No,
Yeah,
we can see it on the screen. You can see it locks it in.
Yeah. So like this one is the same as these. So you got the black and white thing going on here. This one is the same as these. So you got all that green, blue, some browns. This one was these. So you got like that saturated yellows and stuff. So yeah, that's today new because that wasn't here yesterday.
Yep, that's correct. So I'm just trying it on my own screen, not that I'm sharing, you can't see. But I tried yeah, I don't know. It's roughly the same. I'm putting an example in chat here in just a second. I tried pineapples on a table, and then I tried robots in a forest. And I think to some people's eyes, this would be called the same style. It's much more similar than the style tuners were. If I did this with style tuner, it would be completely different. The images would have almost nothing in common. But so the style reference codes are closer across prompts than style tuner codes are. So that makes, yeah.
It also depends how strong of a style you stumble upon.
Fair enough. This is, yeah, and this is completely default everything. So that's good though. It seems like an evolution of the style tuner, which I appreciate.
Yeah. I did
Every-
this just because I thought it was interesting. This one originally had chaos of 50. I did it without any chaos. And we do still get, so even with the chaos, we're getting the style that's behind it without the chaos, but we're getting like the same sorts of colors.
You want to
So if
see
you
a
use-
really strong one? You can show Sref 10. It will, whatever you prompt, it will turn it into Legos.
Oh, cool.
It didn't really turn mine into Legos. It kind of looks like candy in mine.
Andy
Really?
Lego? Oh, heaven.
Then maybe they're not consistent because I tried it last night, so maybe they're
Well, it's
changing the style.
blockish. It is
Yeah.
blockish. Here, I'll put
Like a
put it in the
brick
chat.
and
Wait,
square
I'll
focus.
test
Yeah.
my prompt from yesterday to see if it's the same.
There's my
Yeah,
candy
because
kitty.
we updated a cluster and it might have changed. Hasn't it? That's the thing with all the testing we do, isn't it? Overnight, everything can change with one cluster change.
Yeah, we actually discovered the numbers yesterday. So they certainly could have changed between yesterday and today.
One of mine's turned into Lego, one of the quads, but only one.
Sweet.
I got a fun Lego dinosaur.
Ah.
Mm.
Here, I'll share
Okay,
my
it's
Lego
not
dinosaur.
letting me put.
Whoops.
It's not letting me put 2 numbers though, like I could with URLs.
No.
Let me just
No,
see.
no,
Maybe
Yeah.
the website can't show that.
Oh, Discord lets
Yeah.
you do it.
Okay. So no, it's only picking the one. I had to try that just naturally because
Oh, did you running Star Raw by any chance, Gallifrey? I've just tested it in Raw and I'm getting
Nope.
candy. I do it in standard and I'm getting Lego. Getting 2 different
Nope.
Right.
I put cat in a tree, SRF 10, AR32.
I've just ran it in raw mode and non-raw and standard, and I get candy 1. You know,
I'm not really mad at the candy. It looks delicious.
Mm.
With her little marshmallow paws.
Well, this has turned into like a big prompting thing. We're all prompting together now. We need to go into the alpha channel room and all prompt, all workshop together. Yeah, it'd be awesome. Because like right now we're all doing it, aren't we? Nobody can see what we're doing. It's like we could all be brainstorming away with different results. It's interesting.
I got a similar result to Dee's 46434636.
Oh, with DG as well. Oh.
Now I added the word Lego to the prompt, and now I have Legos.
Wow.
I'm explaining in chat that the reason why we're obsessing about whether these whether these codes can be used across prompts is because we come from a world of version 5.2 where we had this awesome style tuner, but the style tuner was locked to the prompt. The tuned style was locked to the prompt. So the style that I discovered would work with pineapples on a table, and only the prompt pineapples on a table. It would do something completely random to a different prompt. But the style reference codes seem much more robust. If I use the style reference 10 and I apply it to pineapples on a table, robots in a forest, a graceful brontosaurus wades through the serene lake, which is how I got my brontosaurus there. All it's much more robust. The prompt influences what's on the canvas, but the style is still transferred correctly to the prompt. So the implementation is much more what we had hoped the style tuner implementation would have been.
Yeah.
So that's great. That's a great evolution. That we now have these codes and that they can be used across prompts. Not as Wonderful World of Stuff was saying, it's not that they can be used flawlessly across prompts, but that it's more robust than the style tuner. So that's why some of the older people the more veteran users here are excited, is because of that robustness.
Doesn't take a lot, does it?
I cannot put the word.
Did I rhyme brontosaurus within a forest? Hey, check me out. A graceful brontosaurus wades through a serene lake. That's what I said, but I said robots in a forest, a graceful brontosaurus.
Oh, collect. That looks like he's throwing up.
Oh, wow.
No, it's
Anybody
eating
who-
it just the wrong way.
I see.
He's eating the wrong way. That's what my
reverse
cats
eating.
do. All my cats reverse eat all over my sofa.
I love
For
when
anybody
I
who
step
hasn't-
in a little warm pile of reverse eating.
Awesome. Okay, you guys, we have 10
Hi,
more
Bad
minutes.
Yeah,
Speaking of bad cats, we have Bad Cat. Please don't reverse eat all over the channel. We
I bet her
we have
kittens
10,
do.
10 more minutes. Does anyone want to type in a question in the 10 minutes we have left? To all of our veteran users who are unmuted here to help you out. Deez keeps asking. So this is like the third time. Does
I know,
my
I
account
answered
have a
it.
bias? What does that mean?
It's not going to until
Well,
they implement that.
We've always had that conspiracy, haven't we? That it has a bias.
Attached to what?
The log.
Oh,
Doesn't Midjourney have a bias within its own programming? The stylization is its bias, right? Because that's what we rank on, isn't it? When we rate it, we're creating the bias of the stylization, right? At this point.
yeah, but they're
certainly with the
saying they're
individual-
getting different stuff than everybody else.
Yeah, there's a
Different
conspiracy
prompts.
about that. There's,
Yeah.
yeah. You can just
The
change the
system
word of the
really
prompt.
doesn't know what you like to prompt or what you like. There
Oh, yeah.
might be some sort of personalization later, but there isn't now. So if you
No.
put the same prompt as somebody else, you should be getting
Oh, there's no
results
bias.
similar to what they're getting. The only time that
Yeah.
will be different is if they're using like chaos and weird and other special sauce stuff like that, and you're not, your image will look different. If you run the same prompt, you can test it yourself. Run the same prompt, give it a high weight or a high weird and a high chaos, and run it 3 or 4 times, and you'll see that each one comes out different. So if you and your friend run the same prompt, it's not going to be the same exact if it's got all that extra stuff.
It's also
Go ahead,
gonna be
Wonder.
different if your prompt is super vague. If you just prompt for a cat, there's gonna be so many different cats every time you run this prompt. If you add
Deez,
nothing
why
to
don't Deez give us an example? We're riffing here because we don't see the prompt, we don't see the output, and we don't see the prompt of your friend, and we don't see the output of your friend. So the Midjourney doesn't have a bias. It is, however, extremely random. So, I mean, what everyone's telling you is that the friend that you're comparing it to might be using parameters that you're not, or is not using parameters that you are, or the prompt itself is open-ended and says stuff like a person crosses a space. And so what is a person? What is a space? What is crossing? You know? We can't help you without an example prompt, Dees.
It can be so different from literally your settings in Slash settings. If you've got a high variation and they've got a low, and there's so many different variables involved in this situation to make where you say it's an identical prompt, but we're getting different things. Is it, you're going to get, even with the same settings, you're going to get random things.
But we can assure you that Midjourney is not picking on you and is not biased against you. We promise.
Yeah.
Midjourney loves you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know. I was just like, I love the panel. What do you guys think, audience members who are not unmuted? Do you like this panel effect, or do you like it better when there's just one voice answering all the questions? The panel, right? The panel's better than, well, legal screaming both. Panel for sure.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Who else wants to be on the panel so we know for next time? I'm supposed.
Yeah.
I'll be on the panel.
We need a little bit more control, I think.
Wonderful.
Is what Fortuitous is saying.
Oh yeah.
Maybe a little bit more.
Sometimes it can turn into a debate, can't it? So that you need a head. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
you and
yeah.
I usually agree. Wonderful.
Yeah. We got to do that.
Cattle prod.
That.
Cattle prods, what the hell?
Legal beagle.
All right. Okay, so we are basically out of time. I want to thank our panel so much, Gally and Collect and Wonderful and Dee and Kinky, who all stepped up to help create this second half where we got some questions answered. And I want to thank the audience members as well. Your participation in chat and your challenging questions, which we're handling every which way we can, really make this event the advanced geek nerd Midjourney nerd event that we want it to be. This is where we can get really advanced and nerd out and ask all the obscure questions and try to figure things out. So it's fantastic. Mary Smith, I appreciate that we could have controlled the panel a little bit better. with everyone nerding out together at the same time, and then there's also another thread going on in the chat and so on. So yes, we became ungovernable, as Collect says. So we appreciate everyone, and we will do this again next week, same time. Hope to see you. Bring your friends, and I think we are otherwise adjourned. Promptcraft Live is adjourned. Thanks everyone.
For coming, everyone. Thanks for the questions.
Thank you for the presentation, Dee.